So, as a gift to Steve from, Columbine, from the music side of Columbine, as opposed to getting him balloons or something, we brought Glenn Taylor in today. So it is not Cowboy Sunday, don't get confused. Glenn Taylor's here because I know that Glenn is one of your favorite musicians that we've ever brought to Columbine. So Glenn is going to do 3 pieces today so you can sit and enjoy what Glenn does. The first 2 are instrumentals, and then after communion, he's going to do another one for you. So this is sort of our way to say happy birthday. So just sit and enjoy Glenn Taylor on pedal steel.
I don't think I've ever been a birthday present before. It's a first.
Thank you. How cool is that? Thank you for organizing that, Mitch. Happy birthday. Gosh. Old. You know, when Tom Railing retired, sort of re-retired, I found I was the oldest person on staff, so I'm really glad to have somebody else pass that 6-0 marker. Once again, not once again. Good morning and welcome to Columbine United Church. We are so glad that you're here with us on this beautiful, beautiful spring day as we gather together on our walk through Lent. Next week is Palm Sunday. That is so hard for me to believe. It is coming fast, which means Easter is just around the corner. And we can only hope that we have a day this beautiful for Easter Sunday. Lots of things we would like you to know this morning. Mitch is performing a KISS today at Bethany Lutheran Church, which is over in Hampton between Colorado and I-25. Love Inc. is continuing to collect diapers, and we at Columbine are partnering with them. So if you are at the King Soopers, stop and buy some diapers or perhaps some wipes and add it to our pile here. Diapers are so expensive, and we can really make a difference in the lives of some families who are struggling to make ends meet. If you are able, also when you're at the King Soopers, stop and buy some Easter candy and bring it to the church office or drop it at the welcome spot next week for our Easter extravaganza on April 20th. The youth group next week on Palm Sunday will be serving breakfast along with their Rent-to-Youth auction fundraiser. So if you need some help around your house doing some spring cleanup in the yard, wash your windows, etc., the youth can help you for a donation toward their summer mission trips. And we will have breakfast after both services next week. So please join us. The King Soopers, there's a lot of King Soopers announcements today. The process has changed. It's super easy to do. You just go online and you register your card that gives you discounts and choose Columbine as the recipient, and that's super easy. There's no having two cards anymore. Do not ask at the King Soopers. We tried that, and they had no idea what we were talking about. The MS Walk is coming up on May 4th. Carla and Wally Kiesecker, one of them will be back at the welcome spot following service. If you have any questions or you would like to support this effort as we raise money for MS, there are at least 10 people in our congregation who are dealing with MS in their lives. So it's a very important cause to support. And Dinner for 8. There are sign-ups following the worship service today out here. You can sign up for a Dinner for 8 toward the end of April. And there will be an all-church camp-out. When is that, Jill? There's a planning meeting today at 11 in Beale Hall. Is it 2 nights or 1 night? 2 nights, Sunday, Tuesday, 23rd. June 23rd to 25th. So it's going to be a blast, an all-church camp-out. How cool is that? So let's see. I think that's it. That's quite a bit. Once again, friends, welcome to Columbine United Church. We are glad that you have taken this time on this beautiful day to join us for worship. And so now, as we prepare our hearts, I invite you to close your eyes. Breathe in and out. And know that breath is the very Spirit of God that resides deeply within each one of us. And friends, when you look around the room, when you look into the eyes of another, you will see the face of God reflecting back upon you. Because each one of us has been created in God's image. And for that, we give thanks. Amen. Please stand if you're able. Do you need this? You want me to do it? I'll help you. join our voices in the opening prayer. Create, God, you invite us to create. You have created us in your image. You have blessed us with curiosity and imagination. You challenge us to hold nothing back, but to fling our souls on the canvas of the world. We ask that you fill our lives with color and beauty. Help us to see the possibilities in each moment with art, music, poetry, architecture, and design. May we celebrate your glory among us. Amen.
We want to give a huge welcome to all the virtual members of Columbine United Church. It's so great to have you with us. Some of you were up on the ski slope today, a beautiful Colorado day to be skiing, and you decided to take a moment and tune us in. It's great to have you here. Some of you didn't make it to church today because you decided to sleep in. You're watching us in your living room. Good to have you here. Some of you are going to watch us on YouTube later in the week. It's great to have you also, especially our men and women of uniform. We always like to say a huge hello to you. Let's give these folks a warm Columbine welcome. Very good. So I got to tell you a little bit about Glenn. Glenn is one of my favorite musicians. He plays, Jill asked, what is that instrument? This is called the pedal steel guitar. It is one of the most complicated instruments to play. Glenn is moving his fingers up on a slide with a slide. He has pedals with his feet that he's playing, and he has pedals that come down underneath that he's moving with his knees. He's moving them back and forth. So it is a fascinating instrument to play and a beautiful instrument. Glenn is one of the best pedal steel players I've ever heard, so it's great to have you here.
I remember when I turned 60. I told everybody it's the new 58. So there aren't that many metaphysical cowboy songs, but this is the one that I know of. An old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way. When all at once a mightier herd of red-eyed cows he saw, plowing through the ragged skies and up a cloudy draw. Their brands were still on fire and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky, for he saw the riders coming hard and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-yi. Riders in the sky. Their faces hard, their eyes were burrowed, their skirts were soaked with sweat. They're riding hard to catch that herd, but they ain't caught 'em yet. 'Cause they've got to ride forever on that range up in the sky, on horses snorting fire, as they ride on, hear their cry. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-yi, As the riders loped on by him, he heard one call out his name. If you want to save your soul from hell riding on the range, then cowboy, change your ways today, or with us you will ride, trying to catch that devil's herd across these endless skies. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh, Ghost riders in the sky. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh, Ghost riders in the sky.
You just put a permanent smile on my face. That is what a beautiful gift. Thank you for being my birthday gift, Glenn. That's awesome. Very good. Our scripture reading this morning comes to us from Genesis, the first chapter, verses 26 to 31. We've been doing a sermon series on soul and taking care of your soul. And today we're talking about the creative aspect of the soul. And so look at everything that's happening in this passage on the day of creation in Genesis. The author writes, "Then God said, 'Let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.' So God created humankind in God's image. In the image of God, God created them. Male and female, God created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth.' God said, 'See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth,'" look at all this going on, "everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food.' And it was so. God saw everything that God had made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day." May God add these blessing to these words as we seek to apply them to our lives. The creative soul. The creative soul. Mitch Sandu and I are going to do a dialogue sermon today. We're having fun. We've been doing this sermon series on the soul and how to nurture the soul. Jane and Jill did a wonderful dialogue about spiritual disciplines to care for the soul. Last week I talked about generosity and compassion as a way to take care of the soul. And today, Mitch and I are going to do a dialogue about a creative soul. Tell us about that picture up there.
So this is a narwhal. When we were talking about this sermon Monday at our meeting, I asked Steve if he had seen a narwhal.
You got to stand in the light.
I felt like I am. Am I in the light? Thank you. So I said, this is a narwhal. This is a real thing. And I think he kind of knew what it was. But this is a narwhal. And that's actually not a horn. That's a tooth that comes out of the narwhal. It's a tooth that comes up through its lip. And that is an actual narwhal. Back in the Middle Ages, they would hunt narwhal, cut off the horn, so they thought it was a horn, and bring it back to the king and say that it was a unicorn horn. And that's where we think the myth of the unicorn came from, was they would kill narwhals just for the horn. And the king thought it empowered them. And when we were talking about creativity, and you'll hear it later when we talk about this, talk about a stupid thing to do, create a narwhal. That's just a bad idea. Look at that. That is, on the R&D, that didn't cut it at all, and yet God created narwhals.
Perfect.
Turn to the next slide, because there's a fun slide for you. This thing, I have no idea what this thing is. This was in the opening slide today, and I thought I was going to put it in, because I have no idea what this is. And that's amazing to me. I think God sneezed when he was making it. And forgot, and was like, did I let that thing out? Oh, no. Oh, well, let it go. So I just thought, there you go. There's creativity right there.
Perfect. So we have a series of questions that we're going to add. I'm going to ask, there's 4 questions we're going to ask and we're going to answer. First of all, so we're talking about creativity. What is a creative? I'm going to step over. You need to step over here.
And I like the way Steve put it up here with a capital C. Someone after the first service came up to me and said, that made a big difference to him, to see it as a capital C, as a proper noun. We talk a lot, Steve and I and other friends of mine that are creatives, as being a creative as a proper noun, rather than just something you might do. Just like I see a cook, an accountant, it's all capitalized to me. It's not small case. A creative to me is someone who can take something that didn't exist just a few minutes ago and now it exists. That's a creative in the most simple form of the definition. A creative is someone who takes nothing. I'm looking at John Rankin, who I did not know was an artist until a few weeks ago. I didn't know that he was an artist that's hanging right now in the ramp room. He sits there with a blank canvas, and then one paintbrush, one touch, it just started. It never existed till the moment he decided to touch the paint to that canvas. What is there never existed. So that to me is what a creative is with a capital C.
See, and for me, I mean, kind of building on that, it's using imagination. It's following your curiosity. It's following your intentionality. It's taking a risk. It's all doing all kinds of things that we're going to get into. Is a willingness to kind of step out and create it. Like talk about when you create music.
You know, I go downstairs to create music in my studio, and I don't have a set time. I don't have, at 9 o'clock, I'm going down to create music. I can't work like that. The other day, I said to Kristen, hey, I'm going to go downstairs and do some writing. I went downstairs, I had 0 ideas. I had nothing. I had nothing in my mind. So I sat there for a little while, and I stared at things for a little while, turned the keyboard on and just started messing around. And then 90 minutes later, I had 170 measures of music written. See, the beauty of that is that it didn't exist before I sat down. I had no intention on creating that. And the more you allow yourself to not say, well, this is what I'm going to do, and I know we have different styles of creating. Wow, they're flashing now. That's very exciting. That we have different styles of creating. For me, not having any idea is a great way to do it. Because talk about a blank canvas. I have nothing. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I like that one little idea. Let me capture that idea. And then all of a sudden, 90 minutes later, you think, wow, 91 minutes ago, this did not exist. And now it exists.
Cool. Let's go to the next question. Is God a creative?
100%. God is totally creative. I think about, the narwhal. I think about the manatee. I think about, things that were just like, what the heck is that? God is always creating. I Googled something on the internet, so you know what I'm about to say is totally true. I Googled how many people have ever been born on the planet Earth. I just thought that would be interesting to know. So some MIT formula came up, and they said that they did a number that from the year 50,000 BC, they just picked a year and they just started multiplying. They came up with 103 billion people have been born on the planet Earth. To me, or to us, that may seem like a huge number. That may seem like, wow, what a big number. It's only a big number because we decided it's a big number, not because it is a big number. To me, 103 billion human beings that I believe God made each one of them, and every one of them's different. And I don't think God is in heaven saying, man, I'm running out of ideas on the people thing. I got to start duplicating people. I don't think that at all. I think God is like, great, let's do 103 billion more. What the heck? I got time. So he creates 103 billion more people. I think God's totally a creative.
I mean, when you look at the chapter from Genesis and the creation, it's very earth-based. God creates the heaven. God creates the earth. He sets up this dome over the earth to kind of push back the creative waters. But everything is earth-based, creating the heavens and the earth, the animals, the plants, the human beings. But what we know is that from our perspective is that God is still creating. We have the Hubble telescope. We can look deep into the cosmos, and we can see the universe is expanding. We can see that there is new planets, new galaxies, new stars, that there are constellations that are giving birth to new stars, so that God is still creating. So God created, and God is still creating yet today something new, brand new, just like God is creating music every day. God is creating water every day. God is creating painting every day. I look back there at Heidi Snyder. God is creating music every day. That God is creating, actively creating. Anything else on that one?
I think we are this much of what we know is out there. I think God is creating. Think about the giantness of the universe. We're this much of that. And I think God has nothing but fun every day, creating things we may never know are out there because of our limited ability to know how broad it can be. So I think God is a creative all the time.
Cool. Next slide. How is creativity connected to our soul?
For me, it's God's talking to you. You may look at me and say, but I'm not as creative as you are, Mitch. No, more specifically, maybe you don't play the piano the way I play. Do you see the difference? I am not as creative as Susan is in the kitchen baking us goods that you bring to us at staff. That's a gift. I'm not as creative as Jim Sexton is on the golf course. That's not a gift for me. Every one of us is creative. You may not want to say that out loud because I think it scares us. But I think if we choose to believe we're made in the image of God, we talked about this on Monday, if we choose to believe we're made in the image of God, some of you may think, well, that's the physical image of God. I tend to think it's also all the stuff God has inside God. And one of those things at the top of the list, because they start the big book early with creative. And we're all creative. We'll talk about creative accountants in a little while. That's a different thing. But we're all creative in our own way.
So let's just jump there. Mitch and I were joking that if you put us in charge of the accounting of the church, it would be very creative. The church would also be closed in about a week or so. Yeah. But we were talking about Lindsay, our church administrator. We call her the fun accountant. I mean, she adds up all the columns. She gets everything right. But she's also a lot of fun to be with. She's uber creative. All kinds of ideas with social media and marketing. She's a wonderful creative person. You know, for me, creativity is connected to our soul because God is creative. God creates our soul. God slips our soul into our being and then enlivens it so that when we are creative, it connects ourselves to this divine essence, this divine being, so that when our soul begins opening and we paint, we draw, we cook, we golf, we name it, whatever you do, something happens on the divine level. And the divine gets excited. Angels, talk about your angels.
Cigarette smoking, poker playing angels. That's who mine are. They are cigarette smoking, poker playing angels. Just like the velvet painting some of you just thought of in your head with the dogs, right? They've been with me since I've been about 12 years old. What my angels do is they play poker and smoke cigarettes all day and night. That's all they do. They sit and smoke and play poker until I say, hey, and then they stop for a second and they listen. Hey, Mitch just said, hey, let's pay attention. Now, I believe most of the time human beings stop right there and they say, oh, well, that's stupid. So then your angels go back to doing whatever they were doing because they only have one purpose. And that's to be with us in whatever it is we want to do. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. So when I say, hey, and they stop playing and they listen, and then I say, if I, and then they start putting down their stuff. They start putting the cigarettes down. And I believe, for me, my angels, imagine yarn being connected by push pins. So I say, I have an idea. If I ... then they say, hey, in 2 months from now, let's connect this piece of yarn to that piece of yarn because he's going for it. So that I don't even see what they're doing, but it excites them because all they want to do is have fun with me and go down roads that start with the word, hey, and then they start getting active.
Boy, you set my mind off on this gargantuan mind bend. That it's just like, wow, as far as angels being active with us in life and in death and being creative. So, wow, okay, we got to press on, but that just sent my brain on this mind bend. Okay, cool. How do we give our soul and body permission to be creative?
To me, I think this is such a key for people, and I think they look to people who are creatives with a C to give you permission to be creative. You don't need permission to be creative. You don't need permission to do anything like that. I believe God gave it to you when you were born to be creative. But sometimes I think it helps people to hear, oh, Mitch said. That doesn't make it more valid. Just as humans, I think we need that. Someone came up after the last service and said, when you said that, my whole mind just opened up. And I thought, he's right. I don't need permission to be creative. I am creative. And that's really the goal, is that we don't need permission. We need to hear the voice of God, the voice of your angels say, hey, tap, tap, tap on the shoulder. What if you? Oh, what was that? Yeah. When you start saying yes, you realize you don't need permission to do it.
In fact, if you wait for permission, nothing's ever going to happen. No one's going to come along and say, hey, you, we want you to go do X. We want you to go do Y. God wants you to be active. It doesn't work that way. You have to take the initiative. You have to be creative and take the initiative, because no one's going to say, go for it. I mean, sometimes people say, they hear your dreams and ideas and they say, go for it. But more times than not, they're no. And you have to take that initiative to be creative. Now, here's a key question for me, is are you waiting for approval to do something creative? A creative life cannot be sustained by approval any more than it can be destroyed by criticism. Talk about approval, because this is a huge one for creatives.
This will come out sounding rude, but remember you liked me before the sermon started. I don't care what you think. I really don't. And I mean that with love. I don't care what you think. I'm going to do 3 notes for the offertory because that's a really creative thing I do. I don't sit there and say, wowie zowie, I really hope that, John Rankin likes 3 notes today. I don't need John to like it to do it. I'm going to be creative in front of you just to be creative. I reference to God. Nowhere in the Bible, at least not in the front section, does he say, are you guys okay with light? Did I do okay with the manatees? Gorillas, are they okay? No. In fact, I love the 2 words when you read it this time when it said, and indeed. I loved those 2 words in the passage. And indeed, it was good, is what the passage reads. It says, and indeed. So, not caring what you think frees me up. Dave Hicks, one of the greatest musicians I know, and I mean that sincerely, Dave, one of the most talented savant musicians I know, is sitting right here when I sit there to play 3 notes. I'm not hoping when I play, oh, I hope Dave says it's good. That feels good. It feels good for someone to say, John, I love the paintings. It feels good. We're humans. We like that. That doesn't make it good. That just makes us feel good. When I do 3 notes, I want you to say, wow, where am I creative in my life? Look at this guy right in front of us. He's just making it up. And don't applaud, do applaud. It doesn't matter. I'm doing it because God and I have a deal that I will give you as much creativity as you want, but the exchange is, and this has been ever since I was 12 years old, you have to use the creativity or I'll take it away. That's always been our deal. That's why I don't need your approval to be creative. Just like when God said, and indeed, it was good. Nowhere is God checking to see if it's okay.
For me, this ties into rejection. Creative people are always putting themselves out for rejection because there are a lot of people who will say that you don't have approval, that you didn't succeed. Like, if you look at my first book, Sent to Soar, that was an abysmal failure. My publisher said it was a failure. The goal was 3,000 books. The only problem, the only people who bought the books were you. And there's that rejection that when you put yourself out there, that's why you can't care. It doesn't stop. I'm getting ready to release my next book. You can't carry. You've got to stop. You've got to create. You've got to be engaged. Last question. What is the one thing you can do this week to be creative?
Make a left instead of a right. On your way home today, turn right on the street instead of left. While that seems so simple, yesterday I was walking home from yoga, pause to insert me, picturing me doing yoga. Thank you. So,
Nothing personal.
my wife has invited me to come to her yoga classes, so I've gone. And I've gone for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times now. And if you let it be competitive, yoga stinks. If when I play 3 notes, if you try to compare yourself to me as a piano player, you're going to have a lousy time for 3 minutes. It's not about comparing. It's about showing up. When I left yoga yesterday, I wanted to take a walk because Kristen took a second class. Well, on my way on the walk, and I hear this all the time, what I hear is, pick up the trash. I literally hear those words in my head. So I picked up some trash. And then I found a trash can and I threw it away. What is the point of that with what can you do this week to be creative? See, I think that God and the angels say something simple. Make a left. Add poppy seeds to the recipe. Paint with your eyes closed. I mean, I think God says simple things. Because where I'm going with this is that if I'm unwilling or unable to hear God, hear my angels say, pick up the trash, how will I be open to them saying something that's a BHAG? How will I be a big, hairy, audacious goal? How will I hear that if I'm not able to hear them say, turn left instead of right? There's no reward at that other than they say, hey, they listened. So that when you get that next nudge, you're going to be like, wow, there's that voice again saying, try this instead of that. Then all of a sudden, trust begins to build. When Steve got his, kind of wrapped around the axle on his book about a year ago, very frustrated that it wasn't selling and it wasn't, selling more copies, I said, but Steve, what did the angels tell you to do? And we talked, and I kept working him down farther and farther. I said, what did they tell you to do? They told you to write the book. They did not tell you to become a publisher. They told you to write the book. When I picked the trash up, the relationship's complete. There's no other thing coming. Pick up the trash. I picked up the trash. We're done. That relationship is over. So now when they talk to me, hey, I have an idea. I have an idea for Harriet Tubman musical that came to me. I need to act on that idea. See, that's a BHAG. That's a big thing. But because I hear them say, pick up the trash, they're willing to say, we want to throw some big stuff your way and see if you pick up on it.
Be creative. Would you close us with prayer?
What I love about Columbine is all about dreaming big, seeing a future that no one else sees, and celebrating those who are willing to be audacious. One of the things we talked about this week is the difference between convergent and divergent thinkers. In our society, we really teach people to be convergent, to have the right answer to fill in the box. And usually by about 12, we've taught them to be convergent. And what we hear from Mitch and Steve is this invitation to be divergent, to be big, to be different. Because we believe that God is big enough for all of that. And so let's join in a spirit of prayer and be centered in this morning as we continue in worship. God, creator of the universe, sustainer, recreator, big dreamer, we believe that you are with us in all of life. You are the one who has planted seeds of dreams and vision, of passions. You're the one that invites us to dream big, and you give us wings. And you give us air under our wings to spread and to fly. And we believe that there's something glorious as we lean in and we take the chance. So we take risks as we express outwardly who you have made us to be. And we believe that this world is better as we live out how you made us. May we be a people at Columbine who celebrate others and their risks, who see art and creativity in all things and celebrate that because it is part of the divine in each of us. We also believe that you are with us in all things, even in the times that are not easy, that are not fun, where we don't feel creative. You are in us as we journey through pain or sickness or loss. You are with us as we deal with addiction. And so we pray for all of those who are on our hearts today. We give you our own places where we feel lost or broken, where we yearn to have a dream again and not to be consumed with some of the hardness. So we give you those places as well. We thank you for the voices of Mitch and Steve and so many others that invite us to see the bigness and the glory of life all around us. And so we thank you for that reminder again today. And this time we join our voices to pray the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. So I'm excited about this offertory. We invite ushers to come forward. We thank you for all of you who give generously to support the ministries, the mission, and the passion, the art of this church community. If you have a prayer request, please fill that out and sign in as we pass down the friendship pads. Thank you so much.
So the way this works is I'll take three random, we'll go back one, sorry, can someone, thanks. I'll take 3 notes from each of the pastors, and I will make something up in front of you. I have no idea what they're going to say, I have no idea what I'm going to do. You'll never hear it again, it's the only time you'll ever hear it. So I guess what I'd like you to do when I'm playing it is, I mean, you can listen to it, sure, but I guess I'd like you to think about where can you be creative and make a left instead of a right this week. So Steve, you're first, it's your birthday. Huh? C sharp, F, C sharp, F, B flat. So just so you know what's going on in my mind right now is I have 2 roads to go. I can make it minor and sad, or I can make it happy and beautiful. Those are the only thoughts in my mind. C sharp, F, B flat. Here we go.
Mitch, I feel like that was the score of a musical I'd like to live. That was a beautiful soundtrack. Please stand as we give thanks and celebrate.
Great job with the benediction. Let's see how you do with this service.
Narwhals. What a stupid idea. And yet, without them, our world would be less. 103 billion. That sounds like so many. It's really not. And I believe firmly that you, each one of us in here, and every single one of us living on the planet, God has a refrigerator with only your picture on it. Because you are God's greatest creation ever. Someone said to me this after the first service, and this is so important, and I didn't say it at the first service, and I do mean it. Whatever you don't create will never, ever get created. Ever. Ever again. You're all we have. We owe it to each other to be creative. So be creative and say, and indeed, it is good. Thanks, everybody.